The outpost. The star system designated HR 7742 was unremarkable by galactic standards. A yellow dwarf, 3 rocky planets, 2 gas giants, and a sparse asteroid belt that nobody cared about. The only reason it appeared on any map was because of Relay Station Tango 9, a small human outpost built on a barren moon orbiting the second planet. Tango 9 wasn't a military fortress. It wasn't a research hub. It was a communication relay, staffed by 12 people whose job was to keep subspace transmitters running and forward messages between Earth and the outer colonies. Boring work. Safe work. The kind of assignment you took when you wanted peace and quiet. Lieutenant Marcus Webb liked it that way. He sat at his console, sipping coffee that had gone cold an hour ago, watching data streams scroll past on holographic displays. Outside the viewport, the moon's gray surface stretched endlessly under the dim light of HR 7742. No atmosphere. No weather. No surprises. Until the alarm started screaming. Webb dropped his mug. It shattered on the floor, but he didn't notice. His hands flew across the console, pulling up sensor data, his heart hammering in his chest. Contact. Multiple contacts, he shouted. 6, no, 8, unknown vessels entering the system. Behind him, Station Commander Yuki Tanaka abandoned her lunch and sprinted to the tactical station. Her fingers moved with practiced speed, overlaying the sensor feeds onto the main screen. 8 red icons materialized, moving in perfect formation toward Tango 9. IFF, she demanded. Webb's voice was tight. No response. Running profiles now. The computer worked fast. Faster than Webb's pounding heart. When the results appeared, his blood turned to ice. Draxian Empire, he whispered. Tanaka's face went pale. Everyone in the outer colonies knew the Draxians. They were conquerors. Slavers. A species that believed the galaxy belonged to them by right of superior strength. For 2 centuries, they'd crushed every civilization they encountered. The Kelfarians. Extinct. The Vorish Collective. Scattered refugees. The Ilani Federation. Burned to ash. Humanity had managed to avoid direct conflict with them, barely. Earth's diplomats had negotiated carefully, stayed out of Draxian space, kept their heads down. But now, 8 Draxian warships were bearing down on a defenseless relay station, and there was no time for diplomacy. Send a priority distress signal to Fleet Command, Tanaka ordered. Maximum encryption. Tell them. They're hailing us, Webb interrupted. Tanaka straightened. On screen. The main display flickered, and a face appeared. Scaled skin the color of rust. Eyes like molten gold. A mouth full of serrated teeth that curved into something resembling a smile. Human outpost, the Draxian said, its voice a deep rumble that vibrated through the speakers. I am War Commander Threxus of the Draxian Third Fleet. You are trespassing in space claimed by the Empire. Surrender your facility and prepare to be processed. Tanaka forced herself to stay calm. This system is unclaimed neutral territory under the Galactic Concordat Treaty of. Threxus laughed, a harsh, barking sound. The Concordat died when your kind refused to kneel. You have one of your human minutes to evacuate. After that, we destroy your station and everyone in it. The transmission cut off. Silence filled the command center. 12 people. 1 relay station. 8 warships. Webb looked at Tanaka. What do we do? Tanaka's mind raced. The distress signal would take hours to reach Fleet Command, and even if they scrambled a response immediately, help wouldn't arrive for days. Tango 9 had no weapons. No shields. No defenses. They were dead. Unless. Webb, she said slowly. How far are we from the Blackstar? Webb's eyes went wide. Commander, the Blackstar is. How far? He checked his console. 43 million kilometers. Approximately. Tanaka nodded. Send a coded transmission. Priority Alpha Black. Authorization Tanaka 77 Theta. Webb hesitated. Commander, the Blackstar is a prototype. It's not even fully tested. We don't even know if it works. Then I guess we're about to find out. Tanaka's voice was cold steel. Send the message. Webb's fingers trembled as he typed. The message was short. 3 words. Protocol Blackstar. Execute. He hit send. Deep in the asteroid belt, hidden among thousands of drifting rocks, something woke up. The USS Blackstar had been waiting in silence for 3 months. No active sensors. No communications. No lights. Just a cold, dark hull drifting like any other piece of space debris. Inside, Captain Rebecca Grant sat in the command chair of a ship that wasn't supposed to exist. The Blackstar was humanity's secret. A prototype warship built in the shadows, funded by black budgets, designed by engineers who'd been told to ignore every rule in the book. It was smaller than a Draxian cruiser, barely 200 meters long, but every centimeter of it was packed with technology that pushed the boundaries of physics. Exotic matter railguns. Adaptive shielding. Quantum entangled targeting systems. And an experimental drive that could accelerate the ship to speeds that defied every safety regulation ever written. Grant had been chosen to command it because she had a reputation, calm under pressure, ruthless when necessary, and willing to take risks that would make admirals faint. Now, as the automated systems received Tanaka's message, the Blackstar's reactor hummed to life. Lights flickered on across the bridge. Consoles illuminated. The crew, 15 of humanity's best, snapped to attention. Captain, said Lieutenant Chen from Tactical. We have a priority Alpha Black from Tango 9. Draxian attack in progress. 8 hostile vessels. Grant's expression didn't change. She stood slowly, smoothing her uniform. Spin up the drive. Charge the railguns. Bring adaptive shielding online. Yes, ma'am. She walked to the viewport and stared out at the asteroids. Somewhere beyond them, 12 humans were about to die. Unless she stopped it. Helm, she said quietly. Take us in. The Blackstar moved like a ghost, slipping between asteroids with impossible grace. On Tango 9, the countdown ticked toward 0. And War Commander Threxus was about to learn that humanity doesn't kneel. First contact. War Commander Threxus watched the human outpost through the main viewport of his flagship, the Crimson Talon. It was a pitiful thing, a cluster of prefabricated modules clinging to a lifeless moon like a parasite. No shields. No weapons. Barely worth the ammunition it would take to destroy it. But orders were orders. The Draxian Empire had decided that humanity had grown too comfortable in their little corner of the galaxy. Too confident. Too willing to ignore Draxian superiority. This attack wasn't about conquest, it was about sending a message. A reminder that the Empire could reach out and crush any species, anywhere, whenever it pleased. Status, Threxus rumbled. His weapons officer, a younger Draxian with eager eyes, checked his console. All ships in formation, Commander. Plasma cannons charged. The human facility has not evacuated. Shall we fire? Threxus bared his teeth. Yes. Erase them. The weapons officer's claws moved across the controls. And then every alarm on the bridge started shrieking at once. Contact, someone screamed. New contact bearing 270. Threxus spun. What? Where? The tactical display lit up with a single blue icon, moving impossibly fast. Too fast. The computer struggled to track it, the icon jumping across the screen in erratic bursts. Unknown vessel, the sensor officer said, his voice shaking. Mass approximately 40,000 tons. Velocity, he stopped. Recalculated. Velocity exceeds maximum sensor parameters. It's faster than anything I've ever seen. Threxus stared at the display. One ship. One tiny ship racing toward his battle group like a missile. Identify it, he snarled. Unable to match signature, Commander. It's. The communications console chimed. An incoming transmission. Broadband. Unencrypted. Meant for everyone to hear. Threxus hesitated, then nodded. Put it through. The voice that filled the bridge was human. Female. Calm. Dangerously calm. Draxian vessels, this is Captain Rebecca Grant of the United Earth Space Navy vessel Blackstar. You are in violation of neutral space and have threatened civilian personnel. You have 10 seconds to power down your weapons and retreat to a safe distance. This is your only warning. Silence. Then Threxus threw back his head and laughed, a deep, booming sound that echoed through the bridge. His crew joined in, their mocking laughter filling the air. One ship. Threxus roared. One pathetic human ship thinks it can threaten the Third Fleet. He leaned toward the transmitter. Human, you are either very brave or very stupid. Either way, you will burn with. 7 seconds, Grant said. Threxus blinked. What? You've wasted 3 seconds. 7 remain. The Draxian commander's amusement vanished. He gestured sharply. Weapons, target that ship. Destroy it. Targeting lock, the weapons officer began. 4 seconds. Fire. Fire now. 8 Draxian warships unleashed plasma cannons simultaneously. Superheated bolts of energy screamed through the void, converging on the small human vessel. The Blackstar didn't dodge. It didn't need to. A shimmering field materialized around the ship, adaptive shielding that analyzed incoming fire in microseconds and adjusted its frequency to disperse energy. The plasma bolts struck the shield and simply dissolved. Harmless. Like raindrops hitting an umbrella. Time's up, Grant said. And the Blackstar fired. Lieutenant Chen's fingers moved across the tactical console with surgical precision. Railgun 1 locked. Firing. Captain Grant stood perfectly still, her eyes fixed on the holographic display. Fire. The USS Blackstar's primary weapon was a railgun unlike any other in the galaxy. Instead of conventional projectiles, it fired rounds made from exotic matter, material that existed at the edge of physics, held together by electromagnetic fields. Each round was the size of a baseball. Each round carried enough kinetic energy to punch through a small moon. The railgun fired with a sound like thunder compressed into a single instant. The projectile left the barrel at 0.3% the speed of light. It crossed the distance between the Blackstar and the Draxian formation in 1.7 seconds. Threxus saw something flash on his tactical display, too fast to identify. Then his sensor officer screamed. The round struck the Crimson Talon's portside escort cruiser dead center. The ship didn't explode. It disintegrated. The exotic matter round punched through the cruiser's shields like they were paper. Through the armor. Through the superstructure. The impact released so much energy that the entire vessel came apart in a single catastrophic instant. Hull plates, decks, bulkheads, crew, everything converted to superheated plasma and debris. But the round didn't stop. It passed through the wreckage, barely slowed, and struck the second cruiser in the formation. Then the third. 3 ships. 1 shot. In 5 seconds, 3 of Threxus's 8 warships simply ceased to exist. Evasive maneuvers. Threxus roared. All ships, scatter. The remaining 5 vessels broke formation, their engines screaming as they tried to put distance between themselves and the tiny human ship that had just carved through his fleet like a blade through flesh. Return fire. All weapons. Plasma cannons blazed. Missile pods launched. Energy beams slashed through space. The void between the Blackstar and the Draxian fleet lit up like a miniature sun. The Blackstar moved. Its experimental drive, a hybrid of human ingenuity and physics that shouldn't work, fired at full power. The ship accelerated so fast that it left a visible distortion in space, a ripple in reality itself. It darted between incoming fire, moving in 3 dimensions simultaneously, impossibly agile for something so large. Railgun 2 locked, Chen reported. Firing. Another round. Another Draxian cruiser shattered into fragments. 4 ships left. Threxus watched his fleet die. Watched this single human vessel, this impossible vessel, dance through his weapons' fire like it was nothing. Like his warships were children throwing stones. Fear. Cold, primal fear, gripped his chest. An emotion he hadn't felt in decades. Retreat, he whispered. His weapons officer turned. Commander. Retreat. Threxus screamed. All ships, full power to engines, retreat now. The 4 surviving Draxian vessels turned and ran. The Blackstar didn't pursue. It simply stopped, hanging in the void like a predator watching wounded prey flee. Silent. Deadly. Waiting. On Tango 9, 12 humans stared at their screens in stunned silence. Commander Tanaka's voice was barely a whisper. Did we just win? Lieutenant Webb checked the sensors 3 times to make sure he wasn't hallucinating. They're leaving. All surviving ships are jumping to FTL. They're gone. Tanaka sat down heavily. Her hands were shaking. 8 Draxian warships, the same species that had burned entire civilizations, had just been routed by 1 human vessel. 1. Her console chimed. Incoming transmission. Captain Grant's face appeared on the screen. Calm. Professional. As if she'd just finished a routine patrol instead of saving 12 lives and rewriting the balance of power in the galaxy. Tango 9, this is Blackstar. Hostile vessels have retreated. You are secure. Stand by for damage assessment. Tanaka found her voice. Captain Grant, thank you. We thought. Grant's expression softened slightly. You're welcome, Commander. But you should know, they'll be back. The Draxians don't take humiliation well. And when they come back, they'll bring more ships. Tanaka felt her relief drain away. How many more? Grant glanced off-screen at something, then back. Enough to turn this system into a graveyard. But we'll be ready. She paused. Blackstar out. The transmission ended. Webb looked at Tanaka. What do we do now? Tanaka stared at the viewport, where the Blackstar hung in the distance like a dark promise. We wait, she said quietly. And we pray that ship is as good as we think it is. The Council of War Commander Threxus had never run from battle. Not in 40 years of service. Not in 100 conquered systems. Not once, until today. The Crimson Talon limped into Draxian territory 3 hours later, its escort reduced from 7 ships to 4. The crew worked in silence, repairing minor damage, running diagnostics, avoiding eye contact with their commander. They had seen the impossible. They had watched 3 cruisers die in a single shot. They had felt fear. Threxus sat in his command chair, claws digging into the armrests hard enough to leave gouges. His mind replayed the battle over and over. That human ship, small, fast, impossibly deadly. Its shields had dispersed plasma fire like it was nothing. Its weapons had torn through Draxian armor like tissue paper. One ship had destroyed nearly half his fleet. His communications officer approached cautiously. Commander, the High Fleet Command is demanding a full report. They're not pleased. Threxus closed his eyes. Of course they weren't. The Third Fleet had been sent to deliver a message of Draxian dominance. Instead, they delivered a message of Draxian weakness. The Empire would not forgive that easily. "Connect me to the High Council," he said quietly. "Commander, perhaps you should, now." The High Council chamber was carved from black stone, its walls decorated with the skulls of 100 conquered species. At the center sat Supreme War Leader Carveth, the most powerful Draxian in the Empire, a scarred veteran whose reputation had been built on ruthlessness and victory. When Threxus's face appeared on the holographic display, Carveth's eyes burned with barely contained rage. "Explain," Carveth growled. "Explain how you lost 4 ships to a single human vessel." Threxus forced himself to meet the Supreme War Leader's gaze. "The humans have developed a warship unlike anything we've encountered. It possessed adaptive shielding that rendered our plasma weapons ineffective. Its propulsion system allowed it to maneuver faster than our targeting systems could track. And its primary weapon." He paused. "One projectile destroyed 3 cruisers simultaneously." Silence filled the chamber. One of the other council members, War Leader Draxus, younger and more aggressive, leaned forward. "You're saying the humans have superior technology?" "Humans? The species that barely reached the stars a century ago." "I'm saying they've built something that changes everything," Threxus replied. "That ship, the Blackstar, is unlike any vessel in our database. If they can replicate that technology, if they can build more of them, then we must destroy it before they do," Carveth interrupted. His voice was cold iron. "You failed, Threxus. You allowed a single ship to humiliate the Empire. Now you will correct that failure." Threxus felt his chest tighten. "Supreme War Leader, with respect, the Third Fleet is insufficient for, which is why you will not be going alone." Carveth gestured, and a star map appeared beside Threxus's image. HR 7742 glowed red. "The 6th, 9th, and 12th fleets are being redeployed to this system. Combined with what remains of your forces, you will command 18 warships. You will return to that human outpost. You will destroy their miracle ship. And you will remind the galaxy why the Draxian Empire is feared." 18 ships, Threxus wanted to feel relief, but all he felt was dread. 18 ships would overwhelm most enemy forces. But the Blackstar wasn't most enemy forces. It was something else entirely. "When do we depart?" he asked. "Immediately. The fleets are already en route." Carveth's expression hardened. "And Threxus? Do not fail again. The Empire does not tolerate weakness. If you return defeated a second time, you will not return at all." The transmission ended. Threxus sat alone in the darkness of his command chamber, staring at the walls. 18 ships. It should be enough. It had to be enough, but deep in his chest, the fear remained. Meanwhile, 70 light-years away, Captain Rebecca Grant stood in the Blackstar's briefing room, studying tactical projections with her senior officers. "They'll be back," Lieutenant Chen said, stating the obvious. "The Draxians don't retreat. They regroup." "Agreed." Grant zoomed in on the holographic display. "We humiliated them. They'll return with overwhelming force to restore their reputation." Commander Patricia Hayes, the Blackstar's executive officer, crossed her arms. "How many ships are we talking?" "Best guess. At least 15. Possibly more." Grant looked around the table. "We got lucky today. The Draxians didn't expect resistance. They didn't adapt their tactics. Next time, they will." Lieutenant Ramirez, the chief engineer, spoke up. "Captain, the exotic matter railguns performed perfectly, but were limited to 12 rounds. We fired 2 already. That leaves 10 shots. If they bring 15 or 20 ships, we'll need to be smart about it," Grant finished. She turned to Chen. "Tactical analysis. How do we fight a fleet 5 times our size?" Chen pulled up simulations. "We can't engage them in open space. Our shielding is excellent, but sustained fire from multiple ships will eventually overwhelm it. We need terrain. Cover. Something to limit their ability to bring all their weapons to bear simultaneously. Grant nodded slowly. The asteroid field. Exactly. Chen manipulated the display, showing the dense cluster of rocks surrounding the system's outer regions. Thousands of asteroids, some large enough to hide our sensor signature. We use hit-and-run tactics. Strike, relocate, strike again. Force them to split their formation. Guerrilla warfare, Hayes said. In space. Can the ship handle it? Grant asked Ramirez. The engineer grinned. Captain, the Blackstar was built to handle things that would tear most ships apart. Rapid acceleration, tight maneuvering, extreme stress loads, we can do it all. The question is whether the crew can handle it. Grant looked around the table. 15 people. One ship. Against an empire that had conquered half the galaxy, she thought about Tango 9. About 12 civilians who would have died if the Blackstar hadn't been there. About every other human outpost that would be next if the Draxians weren't stopped here, now. We'll handle it, she said quietly. Because we don't have a choice. 2 days later, long-range sensors detected the incoming Draxian fleet. 18 warships, moving in a massive formation that blotted out the stars. On Tango 9, Commander Tanaka watched them approach with a sinking feeling in her stomach. The station's 12 personnel had been offered evacuation, but all had refused. This was their post. Their responsibility. Besides, where would they go? If the Blackstar fell, the Draxians would hunt down any survivors. Lieutenant Webb, Tanaka said quietly. Send one last message to Fleet Command. Tell them what's about to happen here. Tell them. She paused. Tell them we stood our ground. Webb's voice was steady. Yes, ma'am. The Draxian fleet drew closer. And in the asteroid field, hidden among the ancient rocks, the USS Blackstar waited like a coiled snake. Captain Grant sat in her command chair, watching the enemy approach on her tactical display. 18 ships. 18 chances to make a mistake. 18 opportunities to die. But also 18 chances to prove that humanity wouldn't break. All stations report ready, Commander Hayes said. Grant took a slow breath. She thought about her crew, 15 men and women who had volunteered for a ship that wasn't supposed to exist, armed with weapons that barely understood physics, facing an enemy that had crushed civilizations. She thought about the engineers who had built this ship in secret, the scientists who had solved problems that shouldn't have solutions, the politicians who had risked their careers to fund a project that defied every rule. She thought about Earth. About humanity. About every person who had ever looked at the stars and wondered if we were alone, if we were strong enough, if we could survive in a galaxy that didn't care whether we lived or died. And she smiled. Communications, she said. Open a channel to the Draxian fleet. A pause. Then, channel open, Captain. Grant's voice filled the void between the ships, calm, professional, absolutely fearless. Draxian vessels, this is Captain Rebecca Grant of the USS Blackstar. You were warned once. You fled. Now you've returned with more ships, thinking numbers will save you. She paused. You're wrong. Last chance, retreat now, or learn why humanity doesn't kneel. Silence. Then War Commander Threxus's voice came back, dripping with contempt. Brave words, human. Let's see if your ship can back them up. The Draxian fleet opened fire. And the Battle of HFY 7742 began.